I opened my laptop that morning, expecting routine updates, maybe a few emails from the team. Instead, my entire project folder had vanished. Every line of code I had written for months, gone. My heart skipped. No, this can't be happening, I muttered. I double-checked the recycle bin, the cloud backup, every corner I could think of. Empty. Then came the memo. A single, curt email from the CEO. Due to repeated incompetence and lack of initiative, your project has been reassigned. HR will follow up. My fingers trembled. Reassigned. Incompetence. Every line I'd written, every sleepless night, it was all erased, and someone was painting me as the fool. I called him immediately. My childhood friend, my partner in every coding experiment, my confidant. "Hey," I said when he picked up. My voice sounded smaller than I felt. "Morning," he said casually, like we were talking about lunch plans. "You look tense." Tense. My project's been wiped. My work, gone. And someone's blaming me for it. I shouted, disbelief mixing with panic. "Do you know anything about this?" There was a pause. I felt it over the line, a fraction too long. "Listen," he said finally, voice smooth, almost soothing. I don't know what happened. Maybe some IT error. Mistakes happen. You're overreacting. Overreacting." I laughed bitterly. "Are you kidding me? All my work, gone. Every single line. And you're telling me I'm overreacting." I said mistakes happen. Calm down. We'll figure it out. I wanted to throw my laptop across the room. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. "We? You mean, you had nothing to do with this?" He hesitated again. Too long. My stomach churned. He started. Then his tone shifted. "I mean, yes, I knew something was off. But it's business, not friendship. You have to understand, things move fast. Survival, you know." My chest tightened. Business. Survival. We grew up together. You knew what this project meant to me. And you. I couldn't finish. The betrayal was a physical punch. "It's not personal," he said, too calm, too rehearsed. "You'd have done the same if the roles were reversed. You have to accept that sometimes people make hard choices." I laughed hollowly. "Hard choices? Is that what you call stealing my work, blaming me, and letting the CEO humiliate me?" "Look," he interrupted, impatient now, "I didn't steal it. I just facilitated a smoother transition. You were falling behind. I thought I was helping. Helping." Every nerve in me screamed at the lie. "Facilitated? You knew exactly what would happen. You wanted me out. You're proud of this, aren't you?" He paused, and I could hear the faint inhale. Guilt, maybe. Then he masked it with arrogance. "Pride? No. I'm realistic. You have potential, but potential doesn't pay bills. The nephew needed a win, and you were a liability. It's business. Simple as that." I wanted to scream, to punch through the phone, to make him feel even a fraction of the pain he'd caused. "So that's it. Friendship doesn't matter. Trust doesn't matter. You throw me under the bus for money and status." He chuckled, but it was hollow, like he knew he was winning. "Life doesn't care about feelings. Grow up. Learn from this." My hand shook. I sat down hard. I couldn't move. My entire career, my reputation, everything I had built, was crumbling. And he was smiling at my destruction. I hung up. Silence. My apartment felt suffocating. I kept replaying every conversation, every joke, every secret we'd shared. Every memory of trust twisted into betrayal. I felt rage like fire running through my veins, but beneath it, a cold, calculating thought began forming. I couldn't act yet. Not without proof. Not without a plan. I had to survive first. The phone rang again. It was my boss. "I saw the memo," he said. His voice carried no warmth. "HR will contact you. You need to explain your performance issues." I clenched my fists. Explain? What explanation can I give for work I didn't fail at? For a project that was stolen from me? "I'm sure there's a misunderstanding," he said, distant. "Handle it professionally. I don't want drama." Drama. My life had become drama. I ended the call. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It had invaded every corner of my world. I realized then that I couldn't trust anyone. Maybe not even myself. I opened a blank document. Not to write code, not to vent, but to map the pieces, trace connections, figure out who did what. My mind, once clouded with shock, sharpened. I wrote his name first. Then the CEO's nephews. Then every lie, every suspicious email, every traceable move. "This isn't over," I whispered to myself. "I'm not just going to survive. I'm going to expose them. Every last one." I leaned back. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with a mix of fear and exhilaration. I could feel the first stirrings of strategy, of a plan forming in the chaos. This betrayal had shattered me, but it had also awakened something else. Something colder. Something sharper. I glanced at my phone. A text from him. "Hope you understand. It's for your own good." I stared at it. My heart pounded. My lips curled into a thin, bitter smile. "Oh, I understand," I murmured. "I understand perfectly." And for the first time that day, I felt a flicker of control. I walked into the office the next morning, expecting whispers. I wasn't disappointed. "Did you see what happened with the project?" someone muttered as I passed. I kept my head down. "Yeah," I said softly. Another colleague snickered. "Can you believe he messed it up again?" I felt my stomach twist. They didn't know the truth. None of them did. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. I was the joke. The scapegoat. I slid into my desk, opened my laptop, and stared at the empty project folder. My hands trembled. I couldn't stay passive. I had to understand everything, trace every move, every email, every log. "I'm not done," I whispered to myself. "I won't be finished like this." A soft voice interrupted my thoughts. "You okay?" I looked up. Lena stood there, her eyes curious but cautious. I hadn't noticed her before. She was quiet, always observing. "I'm fine," I said, though the words tasted bitter. She tilted her head. "You don't look fine. Everyone's talking, but I can tell you're not." I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Not fine. My project was stolen, my career's on the line, and people whisper behind my back. Yeah, I guess I'm not fine." She didn't flinch. "You're angry. I get it. But yelling at me won't help." "You get it." I snapped, then caught myself. She was right. Yelling wouldn't help. "Maybe I do," I said, softer. "But it doesn't change anything. They've taken everything from me." She pulled up a chair. "Then maybe you need help. Not from HR, not from the boss, but someone who can actually help." I raised an eyebrow. "And that would be you." She smiled faintly. "I'm not claiming to be a hero. Just, I notice things. Patterns. Emails, logs, who touches what. I've seen discrepancies before. You just need someone paying attention." I stared at her. Something in her calm, measured tone, her quiet confidence, made me consider it. "Okay," I said finally. "Fine. But this stays between us. One word, and it's over." "Deal," she said. Over the next few days, I noticed the walls closing in. The CEO barely looked at me, his eyes cold and calculating whenever we crossed paths. "I hope this is just a misunderstanding," he said once, in the kind of voice that meant the opposite. I nodded. "Of course," I said, my tone carefully neutral. Inside, I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip him apart. But I stayed calm. My mind had started forming patterns, connections, angles I hadn't noticed in the heat of betrayal. Lena was my anchor. She'd quietly find copies of emails, discrepancies in file access logs, timestamps that didn't match up. We worked silently, speaking in low voices. "Look at this," she whispered one evening, showing me a log entry. "See that? Your friend accessed the server at 2:14 a.m., the day before the files disappeared. He shouldn't have had permission." I leaned over, eyes narrowing. That's perfect. That's exactly what I need. Exactly, she said. And here, look at the metadata. These files weren't deleted by accident. Someone intentionally removed them. I closed my eyes, heart pounding. He's arrogant. He thought no one would notice. But we will. She nodded. We need to be careful. If anyone suspects, it could backfire. I know, I said, clenching my fists. I've learned to stay invisible when necessary. But I've also learned to strike when the time is right. Days blurred together. I replayed every conversation I had with him, every joke, every secret shared. I thought of the trust one placed in him, the late nights we coded together, the dreams we shared. Every memory was a knife twisting. I muttered aloud to myself, pacing my apartment. He thinks he's untouchable. That I won't notice. That I'll just vanish like everyone expects. But he underestimated me. Lena's text buzzed on my phone. Are you alive? You've been ghosting everyone. I typed back, alive. Planning. At the office, I noticed colleagues looking at me differently. Not openly hostile, but wary. They sensed the shift. I was no longer the naive, trusting guy who laughed at office jokes. I was calculating now, coldly observing. And they could feel it. One of them, Mark, tried to corner me near the coffee machine. Hey, heard you're trying to prove you didn't screw up the project. Good luck with that. I smiled, slow, sharp. Thanks, Mark. I'll need it. He didn't reply, just backed away, confused by the new edge in my tone. Lena approached quietly afterward. They notice. Your attitude is different. Good. I nodded. They'll notice more when it matters. Late one night, after everyone left, Lena and I stayed behind, cross-referencing logs. He thinks he's smart, I muttered, scrolling through timestamps. He thinks I'm the fool. But the fool has been awake while he's sleeping. She glanced at me, expression unreadable. Careful. Anger can cloud judgment. I know, I said, voice low. But anger keeps me sharp. It reminds me what's at stake. We worked silently until the office was empty. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I trusted him. I shared everything. And he destroyed me. But I'm not finished. Not yet. And when the time comes... My voice trailed off, a whisper barely audible even to me. He's going to regret it. Lena didn't speak. She didn't have to. She understood. The next morning, the whispers were louder. My colleagues avoided me more carefully. The CEO's suspicion didn't waver. But inside, I was changing. I was no longer just the victim. I was calculating, patient, preparing. Every sneer, every whispered joke, every cold look, they all became fuel. I glanced at Lena, who was quietly organizing her notes across the desk. Are you ready? I asked. She nodded. I've been ready. I smiled, sharp and fleeting. Good. Because they think I'm broken. They don't know I'm just beginning. And for the first time since the betrayal, I felt a small thrill of hope. Not happiness. Not relief. But power. I wasn't just surviving. I was planning my return. And it was going to be precise. I sat alone in my apartment, the glow from my laptop screen reflecting in my tired eyes. Nights had become a blur of logs, timestamps, and emails. Lena's notes sat beside me, neat, organized, each one a small thread leading back to him, the CEO's nephew. I can't believe how careless he was, I muttered aloud, scrolling through server access logs. Every move, every little shortcut he took, right into my hands. Lena leaned over my shoulder. Careful. Don't get cocky. One mistake and it all blows up in your face. I know, I said, tapping the keyboard. But this is art. Every little glitch I plant, every missing file, every embarrassing error, it's invisible until it's too late. You're enjoying this, she said softly. I glanced at her. I wouldn't call it enjoyment. It's justice. She nodded, not challenging me. She understood. I leaned back. Okay, first step. Trace every document he touched, every server login. Then, Subtle chaos. I can make his life hell without touching him directly. Tiny mistakes, enough to make him doubt himself. Watch him unravel while I stay invisible. Lena raised an eyebrow. Sounds dangerous. Life's dangerous, I said flatly. He chose to ruin me. I'm just returning the favor. The next morning, I walked into the office, pretending exhaustion and defeat. The CEO gave me a cold glance. I hope you're adjusting, he said. Yes, I replied, voice careful. Adjusting. He left it at that. I knew he was watching, analyzing my every move, but I kept my expression neutral. No one suspected the storm I was brewing behind my calm facade. Mark, always eager to mock, approached. Hey, you look better today. Did the HR lecture help? I smiled faintly. Thanks, Mark. I'm learning a lot. His brow furrowed. Learning? Huh. Exactly, I said, walking past him. Learning patience. Learning strategy. Learning what it means to survive. He didn't know what hit him. Not yet. I returned to my desk and opened the logs. Lena's voice buzzed in my ear through a headset. He's in. Timestamp shows he accessed the main directory. That's your opportunity. I nodded. Good. I'll start the first anomaly. Make it subtle. Rename a few files. Shuffle versions. He'll think it's a server glitch. You're really good at this, she said. I've had practice, I murmured. But this is different. It's personal. Hours passed. Each keystroke felt like a chess move. I watched him through the internal system, saw his access patterns, predicted his errors. Small things, files missing when he opened them, versions overwritten, minor formula errors, nothing catastrophic, nothing obvious. Just enough to confuse him, make him question his competence. Lena whispered, he's already retracing steps, checking logs. He thinks someone's sabotaging him. I smiled faintly. Exactly. By mid-afternoon, he approached me, confident, smirking. Hey, any idea why some of the reports are wrong? You're usually better than this. I kept my tone neutral, voice soft. I noticed a few discrepancies, yes. Maybe the system is acting up. He narrowed his eyes. Maybe. He walked away, muttering something under his breath. I bit back a smile. He had no idea the chaos was orchestrated by the very person he'd humiliated. Careful, Lena's whisper reminded me. He's arrogant, but he's quick. Don't make a misstep. I won't, I said. I've learned from being underestimated. He's never seen this side of me. Late that night, I replayed our confrontation from months ago. It's business, not friendship, he had said. I clenched my fists. Business doesn't excuse betrayal, I muttered to myself. And now, I control it. I opened a secure folder with encrypted logs. I mapped every step he had taken, every shortcut, every email he had sent to claim my work. Each one was ammunition, a thread I could pull to unravel him. You're meticulous, Lena commented. Necessary, I said. One slip and it's over. One misstep and I become the victim again. She handed me a coffee. You're obsessed. Obsessed. Maybe. But obsession breeds precision. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. I have to balance this. Appear weak, appear defeated, while everything I touch sets a trap. Tiny disruptions. Enough to shake his confidence. Enough to make him doubt himself. She nodded. And once he doubts himself, then the real work begins, I said, voice low. Once he falters, I step in. Quietly, invisibly, and let the avalanche begin. A ping on my laptop. An alert. He had just accessed the directory I had manipulated. I watched as he opened files that no longer matched his expectations. His brow furrowed. He paused, scrolled, frowned. I whispered, perfect. Lena glanced at me, impressed. He's panicking. Not yet, I corrected. He's confused. Panicking comes later. Timing is everything. I stretched, rubbing my temples. I remember all the times he underestimated me, all the sneers, all the smirks. Every single one fuels this. But I stay disciplined. I can't let emotion override strategy. You've changed, Lena said. I've survived, I said. That's different from being the same. I've been pushed to the edge, and now I'm sharpening my edge. The next day, he came to my desk, more cautious now. Any idea why these formulas are off? I double-checked everything. I looked up, eyes calm. I noticed a few misalignments in the dataset. Could be a conversion error. His jaw tightened. Conversion error? Could be, I said lightly. Or maybe it's the software acting up. He left, muttering again. I smiled faintly. Subtle chaos. One small seed, planted, growing. That night, I reviewed everything again. His every login, every shortcut, every overlooked file. Each was a breadcrumb leading him further into confusion, further into doubt. I adjusted my manipulations, set new traps. I wasn't reckless. I was surgical. Lena leaned back, eyes tired. You're relentless. I have to be, I said. They thought they could destroy me. They thought I'd be weak. I'm not weak. I'm calculating. Every move, every hesitation, every glance, they'll fall right into place. She gave a faint smile. Then the fire begins. I nodded. Yes. And when it does, it will be beautiful in its precision. No one will see it coming. I stared at the blinking cursor on my screen, thinking of him. Smug, arrogant, entitled. Every small error I planted, every confusion I orchestrated, it was the beginning. The start of everything he never expected. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the intoxicating mix of fear, power, and anticipation. The fire had begun. I sat at my desk, staring at the latest report. My fingers itched to smile, but I didn't. The CEO's nephew had just made his first major public mistake, an error in the quarterly presentation that I had orchestrated weeks ago. Everyone in the meeting noticed, some whispered, others tried to cover it up. I could feel the tension, and yet, it didn't feel as satisfying as I imagined. Lena leaned against my cubicle. You're quiet today, she said. I didn't look at her. Exhilarated, guilty, proud, and disgusted, all at the same time. She frowned. Guilty. Yes, I admitted. I planned this. I watched it happen. I helped ruin someone's credibility. And I feel something. Not just satisfaction. You're walking a fine line, she warned. Don't lose yourself. Revenge can consume you faster than it consumes them. I ran a hand through my hair. I know. I felt that. But if I stop now, everything he's done, everything he's taken, will have been for nothing. She sighed. Just remember, there's a difference between justice and obsession. I nodded, though my mind raced. Justice. Obsession. It all felt intertwined now, impossible to separate. The phone buzzed. A message from my former friend. Can we talk? I made a huge mistake. I want to explain. I stared at the screen. My heart thudded. Could I forgive him? Could I even listen? I typed back slowly. It's too late. He called immediately. Please, just hear me out. I'm listening, I said, voice tight. I didn't realize how far this would go, he said, desperation lacing his words. I thought it would be temporary. I thought I could fix it later. I was wrong. I never meant for it to destroy you. You didn't mean to destroy me? I repeated, bitter. You plotted with him. You framed me. You lied. I know. And I regret it every day. I thought you'd understand. I cut him off. Understand? Do you even understand the nights I spent awake, wondering if my life was over? The humiliation I endured? You broke every ounce of trust one had in you. Too late. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. Sorry doesn't undo this, I said, tone final. You had your chance. You threw it away. He didn't respond. Silence stretched for a moment before he hung up. I exhaled slowly, realizing the release of saying it aloud hadn't eased anything. It had sharpened the edge of my resolve. Later that day, I noticed the CEO's nephew in the hallway, visibly flustered. His confident stride faltered. His phone buzzed repeatedly. I could see the panic growing, subtle but unmistakable. He was unraveling, just as I had hoped. Lena whispered, "He's losing it. Your trap is working." I watched him pass by my cubicle. "Good," I muttered. "But keep it subtle. Let him dig his own hole." She nodded. "You're strategic. But don't let this get personal." I shook my head. "It's personal, but not about hatred anymore. It's about balance. Karma, maybe. Something he can't deny." That evening, I reviewed his mistakes. Minor miscalculations, overlooked errors, miscommunications, all things I had subtly nudged into place. I felt a spark of exhilaration. "Finally," I whispered, "he's starting to crumble." But then guilt crept in. Am I enjoying this too much? I asked myself. Am I becoming him? Lena's voice in my memory, "Don't lose yourself." I pushed the thought aside. Not now. Not when everything was falling into alignment. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. Another text from him. "I understand why you won't forgive me. I wish I could turn back time." I stared at it. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wanted to delete it. I wanted to ignore it. But instead, I typed, "You should have thought of that before." He didn't reply. That silence was more satisfying than any words. Meanwhile, the CEO's nephew stumbled through another meeting. His confidence cracked. A colleague whispered a correction, and he snapped defensively, losing his composure. I watched from the edge of the conference room, invisible. My heart pounded, excitement and unease mixing. "Careful," Lena said, sitting beside me quietly. "Don't let yourself get carried away. He's unraveling, yes, but remember what you stand for." "I remember," I said. "I'm not here to destroy him. I'm here to set things right. To take back what was mine and make him accountable." She studied me. "Just promise me you won't cross the line." "I'll try," I said, not entirely sure I meant it. That night, I sat alone again, replaying the last few weeks. Every subtle sabotage, every whispered error, every manipulated email, it had all worked. The cracks were showing. But every time I imagined his panic, a part of me recoiled. Was I still the same person? Or had I been reshaped by betrayal into someone colder, sharper, more ruthless? A soft ping interrupted my thoughts. Lena's message, "Don't forget who you are. Revenge is a tool, not a life." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I closed my eyes. She was right. But I also knew I couldn't stop now. Not while the pieces were moving. The next morning, my former friend appeared in my office, unannounced. "Please, just 5 minutes," he pleaded. I didn't look up. "It's over. Whatever you wanted to say, it doesn't matter. I needed you to know I regret it. I thought we were friends. I thought." "You thought wrong," I said sharply. "You chose power over trust. And now you get to live with that choice." He sank into the chair across from me, defeated. I never meant for it to go this far." "You didn't mean to?" I asked. "Yet here we are. Too late for regrets." He looked away. Silence filled the office, heavy and suffocating. I realized then that I felt no joy, no satisfaction in his guilt. Just clarity. The turning point wasn't about making him suffer. It was about reclaiming control. The CEO's nephew stumbled past again, phone in hand, a furrowed brow, sweat gleaming at his temples. I smiled faintly, a cold, calculated smile. The wheels were turning. Karma was subtle, but inevitable. Lena leaned back. "You've done well," she said quietly. "Now, just stay sharp. Don't let this spiral out of control." "I won't," I said. "I've learned from the betrayal. I've learned what patience can do, what precision can do. And now, it's time to let the pieces fall where they may." For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange balance. Anger and strategy, justice and guilt, all mingling inside me. The fire had begun to burn, but this time, I wasn't consumed by it. I was guiding it. And I knew one thing for certain: the turning point had arrived. I arrived at the office that morning, calm, controlled, like nothing had changed. Behind me, Lena carried her notebook, eyes alert, scanning every detail. Today was the day. The day I let everything I had orchestrated converge. "Are you ready?" she asked softly, standing beside my desk. "I've been ready for weeks," I said. "This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about exposing the truth and letting the consequences fall where they may." She nodded. "Just remember, timing is everything." I smiled faintly. Timing is my ally. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m., and I had prepared a secure presentation folder. Hidden among routine documents were logs showing the CEO's nephew's embezzlement, unauthorized access to confidential files, and subtle manipulations of my project. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every altered document had been collected meticulously. "Are you nervous?" Lena asked as we walked toward the conference room. "Nervous?" I laughed softly. "No. Exhilarated, maybe, but no fear. Fear is for the unprepared. I've prepared for everything." We entered the conference room. The CEO's nephew was already there, radiating confidence as usual. He didn't notice the tension simmering beneath the surface. "Not yet." "Good morning," he said casually, glancing at me. "I hope everyone's ready for a productive meeting." I smiled faintly. "Absolutely." The CEO gave a curt nod, eyes flicking between me and my folder. I opened it on the projector, pretending to organize my notes. Lena sat beside me, quiet, watching. I began speaking, my voice calm, deliberate. "I'd like to review the latest project updates before we move on to financials. There are some anomalies we need to address." The nephew's confident smile faltered. "Anomalies?" he asked, tone sharp. "Yes," I said. "For instance, these reports," I clicked the remote, projecting logs and emails on the screen, "show several instances of unauthorized access, including timestamps that do not align with regular work hours. Someone has manipulated project files." He shifted, trying to mask discomfort. "That's probably a system error. IT should check it." I interrupted smoothly. "System errors don't leave digital fingerprints. Let's review the access logs." I clicked again. Names, timestamps, IP addresses, all clearly showing him accessing files he had no permission to touch. Board members leaned in. Whispers started. "You're saying he?" one director asked, disbelief in her voice. "Yes," I said, voice steady. "He deliberately altered files, attempted to sabotage the project, and took steps to hide his actions." The nephew's face paled. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. I didn't." "Please, check the logs yourself," I said, my tone neutral, almost clinical. "Everything is recorded." The CEO raised an eyebrow, expression unreadable. "I want explanations," he said. "I have them," I replied. "And I can show you the entire chain of events." Lena handed me an encrypted USB. "Everything he did is documented. Tampering, misappropriation, attempts to ruin the project. All timestamps, all evidence, all communications. It's undeniable." I inserted it into the laptop, projecting folders filled with proof. The nephew's hands shook slightly as he noticed board members exchanging concerned glances. "Are you aware of what you're showing here?" he demanded, voice rising. "This is an accusation without merit." I leaned slightly forward. "You're aware, aren't you? You know what you did." "I know what you did. And now, so does everyone else in this room." His confident facade crumbled, replaced by desperation. "Please, this isn't necessary. I can fix it." "Fix it," I repeated, voice calm but sharp. "You can't. This isn't about fixing anything. This is about accountability. Every action has a consequence. You chose this path." He swallowed hard, eyes darting around the room. I can make it worth your while," he said, lowering his voice. "Money, influence. I can." I cut him off, voice icy. "No. You can't buy back trust. You can't undo betrayal. And you certainly can't intimidate me into silence." He sank into his chair, shaking. Then, please don't destroy me. I'll resign. Anything. Just. Resignation isn't enough, I said. You underestimated me. You humiliated me, destroyed my work, and relied on arrogance to carry you through. But now you see the cost of underestimating someone you betrayed. The board was silent. I watched his pride crumble. Every attempt to regain control failed. He was unraveling, and I had only begun. Lena leaned closer, whispering, "He's broken. You can see it." "Yes," I murmured. "But the ache of betrayal doesn't vanish with their fear. That part lingers. That's the cost I carry." The nephew's voice trembled. I'll do anything. Anything you want. Just spare me." I shook my head. "You can't erase what you've done. You can't undo the nights I spent awake, wondering if my career was over. You can't undo the humiliation. All you can do is face the consequences." He looked at me, eyes pleading, frantic. You're cruel. But I understand. Please, just tell me what to do." I leaned back, studying him. "I'm not here to negotiate mercy. I'm here to ensure justice. You'll answer to the board, to your colleagues, and to every action you took against me. That is enough." His head dropped. Silence filled the room. I felt a small flicker of satisfaction, but it was tempered by the lingering ache in my chest. Betrayal wasn't undone, and the trust one lost couldn't be regained. Lena's hand brushed mine briefly, a silent acknowledgement. "You've done what needed to be done," she whispered. I nodded, still focused on him. "Yes. But it doesn't feel like closure. It feels like preparation for the next step. Justice is underway, but healing, that's mine to find." The nephew's gaze lifted briefly, panic giving way to realization. He understood the depth of his miscalculation. I had stayed calm while orchestrating his downfall. Every misstep I had planted, every manipulated log, every subtle sabotage, it had worked perfectly. I don't know what else to say," he whispered. "Save your words," I said. "Actions speak louder than apologies. And your actions have spoken volumes." He flinched as board members exchanged looks of concern. My plan had succeeded in demonstrating competence, vigilance, and resilience. I had reclaimed control without a single reckless move. After the meeting, Lena and I returned to our desks. "That went well," she said cautiously. "Perfectly," I said. "But the fire isn't over. This is just the beginning of accountability. He'll crumble further, and I'll watch carefully. Precision, patience, observation, that's the key." She studied me. "You're different now. Stronger, sharper. But be careful. Don't let this consume you entirely." "I won't," I said. "I've learned from betrayal. I've learned the importance of strategy. And I've learned that power without discipline is meaningless." I leaned back, thinking of the weeks leading to this moment. Every sleepless night, every meticulous plan, every subtle manipulation, it had all been worth it. He had underestimated me, and now, finally, he understood the price of arrogance. Yet beneath the satisfaction, the lingering ache of betrayal remained. The memory of my former friend's treachery, the trust broken, the humiliation endured, they were scars that wouldn't fade overnight. But that pain had been transformed into focus, precision, and determination. I glanced at Lena, who gave me a small, approving nod. "He doesn't see it yet," she whispered. "But he will." The office felt different that morning. Quiet. Respectful. Not the hushed whispers of mockery I'd endured, but a cautious acknowledgement of power. My laptop glowed softly, emails piled up, official memos, apologies, resignations. The CEO's nephew had been stripped of authority. His arrogance, his entitlement, every misstep I had orchestrated, had caught up with him. Lena leaned over my desk. "People are looking at you differently," she whispered. "I noticed," I said, voice steady. "It's not about admiration. It's about fear. They respect results more than morality." She frowned. "Do you feel satisfied?" I paused. "Satisfied? Partly. Justice was served. But, I trailed off, staring at the empty chair where the nephew used to sit. The betrayal still aches. You can't undo it with a few clever moves. She placed a hand lightly on my shoulder. That's why I'm here. To remind you that surviving this, and staying human, matters more than revenge itself. I nodded. I know. And you've been my anchor, Lena. Through all of it. She smiled faintly. Glad to help. But you have to acknowledge what you've gone through. Not just act on it. I leaned back, thinking. Weeks of sleepless nights, meticulous planning, and calculated sabotage had brought this moment. And yet, a hollow part of me lingered. The thrill of seeing him falter, the satisfaction of exposing his misdeeds, it hadn't filled the void left by betrayal. Are you going to check your messages? Lena asked, nodding toward my phone. I picked it up. One from my former friend, short, hesitant. I understand why you won't speak to me. I wanted you to know I regret everything. I stared at it for a long moment. Regret. A word too small for what he had done. But I typed slowly, deliberately, acknowledged. Lena's eyes met mine. That's it. Cold, precise, but effective. I don't need more, I said. Closure doesn't require apologies. Just acknowledgement and moving forward. A few colleagues passed by my desk, faces now tinged with caution rather than scorn. Some whispered softly, some avoided eye contact, but a few nodded in silent respect. I didn't relish it, but I noted it. Results mattered, and mine were visible. The CEO approached, hands behind his back. Impressive work, he said quietly, his voice carrying authority. You've handled this delicately, efficiently. Thank you, I replied. I only did what was necessary. He nodded, eyes assessing. Remember this lesson. Trust is fragile, but competence is undeniable. You've proven both. I inclined my head. I understand. After he left, Lena leaned closer. He noticed. That counts for something, doesn't it? I gave a small shrug. It counts for what it's worth. But the lesson isn't about them. It's about me. I can't let anyone break me again. She smiled faintly. And you won't. You've grown, more than anyone else here realizes. I glanced at the now empty corner office of the nephew. He lost everything. Power, respect, control. But no one sees what I've gained. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Not even the respect of my peers. What I've gained is clarity, understanding, self-reliance. Lena nodded. And that's priceless. The rest is secondary. A ping drew my attention. Another message from my friend. I'll leave you alone now. I just hope, someday, maybe you can forgive me. I stared at the screen. Forgive him. The thought lingered but didn't dominate. Instead, I felt calm. Detached. The fire of revenge had cooled. I typed slowly. Time will tell. Lena watched me. That's measured. And right. You're not bound by anger anymore. No, I said quietly. I'm not. I've learned that anger is a tool, but it's not a life. I can use it when necessary, but I won't let it control me. A few colleagues approached cautiously. Congrats on handling everything, one said, voice low. I didn't think anyone could manage what happened. Thank you, I said. But it wasn't about managing them. It was about managing myself. They nodded, silently acknowledging the truth. Respect came from competence, but understanding came from resilience. I realized that had been my goal all along. Not humiliation, not revenge, but reclaiming my agency. Lena leaned closer. So, what now? I exhaled slowly, letting tension seep from my shoulders. Now, I rebuild. Project by project, relationship by relationship. Carefully. No more blind trust, but no more blind anger either. She smiled. That sounds healthy. Healthy, yes, I said. But not easy. Betrayal leaves scars. And some wounds never fully close. I'll carry them, but I won't let them define me. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. My former friend stood there, hesitant, avoiding my eyes. I wanted to see you, he said softly. I looked up, expression neutral. There's nothing left to discuss. I just wanted to apologize, properly, he said. And maybe, I hoped you could forgive me. I shook my head slowly. I acknowledged your words. That is enough. Forgiveness isn't mine to give lightly. Closure comes from letting go, not from welcoming back the past. His shoulders slumped. I understand. I'll leave you alone. Do that, I said quietly. And remember the lessons you ignored. Let them guide you, so you don't make the same mistakes again. He nodded, turned, and left. Silence returned. I exhaled, a small weight lifting. Part of me ached, yes, but the burden of betrayal was no longer controlling me. I had claimed my power back, and with it, the clarity to move forward. Lena placed her hand on mine again. You've grown so much, she said softly, and you're finally free to choose your path. I am, I said, voice quiet but certain. The past doesn't control me. I control how I respond to it. That's the true victory. We sat together in silence for a moment, watching colleagues work, feeling the subtle shift in energy. No whispers, no sneers, just cautious respect and acknowledgement of competence. I opened my laptop, drafting the next phase of my project, carefully planning my next steps. Not for revenge, not for validation, but for creation. For progress. For reclaiming what was rightfully mine. Lena leaned closer. Ready to move forward? I am, I said. And this time, I move forward on my terms. No one else's betrayal, arrogance, or mistakes will dictate my life again. She smiled. Then let's make sure the future is yours. I glanced at the blank document on my screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. A fresh start, free of manipulation, free of anger, free of lingering resentment. And yet, tempered by the lessons of betrayal. I thought of my former friend again, briefly. Acknowledged. That was enough. No false reconciliation. No lingering anger. Just recognition and clarity. Lena smiled at me once more, silently acknowledging the weight of the moment. You've earned this, she said. Yes, I said quietly. But the true work isn't over. It never is. The work is learning to live with the scars and using them to strengthen yourself, not destroy others. She nodded. And you'll do it. I looked around the office, at the colleagues who once mocked, at the CEO who now regarded me with cautious respect, at the empty spaces where arrogance once thrived. Everything had shifted. But the final shift was inside me, where clarity, strength, and moral understanding had taken root. The nephew's downfall was complete. My former friend had received acknowledgement, but not reconciliation. Justice had been served. I had survived, transformed, and learned the true cost of betrayal. I stepped into the new office, sunlight spilling across polished floors. Everything smelled fresh, new beginnings, clean lines, silent ambition. My life, once fractured by betrayal, was now rebuilt stronger than ever. I paused at the window, letting the city spread below me. I had fought tooth and nail, and now I could finally breathe. Lena appeared beside me. It's different, isn't it? She asked softly. Yes, I said, voice quiet but certain. It's calm, but not empty. There's still work to do, but I feel in control. She smiled faintly. And you've earned that. I leaned against the window, thinking of the chaos that had brought me here. The CEO's nephew, my former friend, the sleepless nights, the careful plotting. Each betrayal had left a scar, but each scar had shaped me into someone sharper, wiser, harder to manipulate. You've changed, Lena said, watching me closely. Stronger, more cautious. But I don't think you've lost yourself entirely. I haven't, I replied. I've learned that trust is earned, that words can't erase actions, and that revenge, while satisfying, isn't the same as peace. She nodded. And peace is what you need now. I smiled faintly, recalling my final messages, the acknowledgement I had sent to my former friend. Closure had been subtle, cold, but necessary. I had let him know I forgave, in my own way, without reopening doors that should remain closed. That decision had lifted a small weight I didn't realize I had been carrying. "Do you ever think about them?" Lena asked, voice soft. "About the people who hurt you?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "Not with anger, not anymore. But with caution, with clarity. I remember to guard myself, to act with awareness. And yet," I hesitated, letting the memory linger. "Yet I haven't lost the ability to care, to feel. Compassion isn't weakness. It's strength." She gave a faint, approving nod. "That's the part that matters. You didn't let their betrayal turn you into something you're not." I walked to my desk, running a hand over the surface. Clean, organized, ready. My laptop sat waiting, open to the new project plans I had outlined. No sabotage, no revenge, just creation and growth. "You're ready," Lena said. "Ready to step forward." "I am," I replied. "And this time, forward means on my terms. No one else controlling the pace, the stakes, or the outcomes. I've learned to anticipate deception, to read intentions, and to act decisively. But I've also learned that restraint is as powerful as action." She smiled again, her presence steadying me. "And that's why you'll succeed. You've combined skill with wisdom, strategy with humanity." I paused, thinking of the nephew. His downfall had been complete. Public disgrace, stripped of power, watched with cautious fear by colleagues who once envied or ridiculed him. Justice had been served, and yet, it had left no joy in my heart. Only the clarity that I was no longer vulnerable to manipulation. "And my former friend?" Lena asked. I exhaled. Acknowledged. That was all that was needed. Closure doesn't require reconciliation. Some doors remain closed for a reason. She nodded, understanding. "And yet you don't carry bitterness." "No," I said. "I carry memory, and caution, and lessons. But not bitterness. That would serve no purpose. It would make me weaker, not stronger." A soft ping drew my attention. An email from a colleague, congratulating me on my leadership, on handling the crisis, on rebuilding the project. I smiled faintly. Recognition, yes, but more importantly, it was proof that competence and integrity could coexist. Lena leaned closer, whispering, "Do you feel lighter?" "I do," I admitted. "But lighter doesn't mean naive. Lighter means aware. I've shed the fear of betrayal, the humiliation, the control others tried to impose. I've transformed it into clarity, into resilience. And I intend to keep it that way." She gave a faint laugh. "Sounds like you've become unstoppable." "Not unstoppable," I corrected. "Balanced, decisive, and human. That matters more than any untouchable power. I can rise from ashes without losing myself entirely." We walked to the large window together, the city sprawling below. I thought of the nights I had spent alone, replaying conversations, recalling trust, watching plans unfold. Every tear, every heartbeat, every sleepless hour had contributed to the person I had become. "I never thought I'd get here," I said quietly. "I never imagined I could survive this intact. Not just survive, but evolve." "You did," Lena said softly. "You evolved, and you held on to what truly matters. Strength, skill, integrity, and empathy." I smiled faintly. Empathy is the hardest part to maintain. It's easy to let betrayal harden you, to let revenge consume your life. But I've learned, it doesn't have to. You can act decisively without losing compassion. That's the ultimate victory. She nodded, eyes steady. "And you've achieved it." I turned back to my desk, opening my new project folder. The files were empty of sabotage, filled only with plans for creation, strategy, and progress. I would rebuild stronger than before, but this time, not out of anger, out of purpose. "Do you ever regret it?" Lena asked, voice soft. "The time you spent plotting, planning, exacting revenge?" "Not entirely," I admitted. "It was necessary to reclaim control, to survive the betrayal. But I don't dwell there anymore. I learned from it. I grew from it. And I've ensured it won't define me going forward." She smiled faintly. Then the fire has served its purpose. Yes, I said. And now it's time to step beyond it. To build, to create, to live without the shadows of those who tried to destroy me. I'm no longer naive. I've been tempered, refined, and strengthened. But I remain compassionate. That's the balance I fought for. The city lights began to flicker as evening approached. I sat, letting the glow of the skyline wash over me. Everything had shifted. Justice had been served. Betrayal acknowledged, but not allowed to dominate. I had rebuilt my life, my confidence, my focus. Lena watched me quietly, then said, "So, what now?" I exhaled slowly, a sense of calm settling over me. "Now, I live. I work. I create. I trust cautiously, care deeply, and act decisively. The past is behind me. The future is mine." She smiled, her hand brushing mine. "And you'll handle it wisely." "Yes," I said, voice low but certain. "Wisely. Strongly. Humanly." For the first time in months, I felt complete. Not triumphant, not vengeful, not hollow, complete. I had survived, rebuilt, and risen from ashes stronger than before. And as I looked out over the city, I whispered quietly to myself, "I am ready. For anything. For everything. And I remain me." Lena's presence beside me was steady, unwavering. Together, we would move forward. I smiled faintly. "Forward," I repeated. "Yes, forward."